For more on the damage, we're now joined via Zoom by the spokesperson for the University of Cape Town, Elijah Moholola. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so very much for being with us this afternoon on SABC News.
Good afternoon, Flo, and to the viewers, and thank you for having us on the show this afternoon.
You're welcome, sir. Elijah, let me start by firstly talking to you about the students and the staff before we go into the issue of infrastructure damage and all that's been damaged at the university. How are the students and staff doing at the moment? I do see that the evacuations were done quite well yesterday, and we were able to house many of the students in hotels around the university. What can you tell us about the welfare of the students and your staff?
It was indeed a very difficult situation to manage, Flo. Yeah. Imagine having to suddenly evacuate over 4,000 students from campus, without any notice whatsoever. So it really was a little bit of a difficult situation to manage. But I think above all, we are grateful that we were, able to evacuate all of them without any reported injuries, importantly, without even a single loss of life. And also, we are grateful that we have managed to actually provide accommodation across various hotels in the CBD for the students affected. So that actually becomes a little bit of a reassuring factor that, despite what was happening yesterday, our students were not left stranded on the streets. They had a place to go to. And also importantly, we were able to immediately organize or arrange counseling for any student who might have been negatively impacted by this. They were able to access telephonic counseling immediately on a toll-free number via 2 service providers.
Yeah. And Elijah, we can talk about the damage that we've all kind of seen at this time, but I think maybe it will take some time for you to actually assess the sort of damage that has happened and to the buildings at UCT. We're hearing a lot about Jaeger Library, and we've seen the images of it being completely sort of burnt down. Have you at this stage started to really take in or assess the extent of that damage that we're speaking about on campus property?
So I think in terms of the damage, and my apologies there, Flo, I think a call just came through, so I lost you a bit there. Okay. But in terms of the damage, one thing that is going to happen is that we will be having a full assessment as soon as conditions allow on campus to look at exactly what buildings have been damaged and what is the severity of this damage at each of these buildings. Once we have worked that out, we will then look at a plan as to how then do we recover from such damage. How do we then deal with the aftermath insofar as the specific buildings are concerned. We can, however, confirm that a number of our buildings have been affected by the fire, and the saddest really has been the impact on the library itself, considering the material housed in there, considering how most of it cannot even be replaced. I think that for us was quite a very sad point to contend with yesterday when we realized that the fire had actually reached the library. But yeah, we are hopeful that as much as we had the fire reaching the library and other buildings, we are also aware that the firefighters themselves put in a great deal of effort to ensure that we do not have what could possibly have been even a bigger impact as a result of the fire.
Yeah, and it's too soon, I guess, to start to think about what's next from this point. The students will have to at some point, of course, come back to university, and there'll have to be some sort of contingency plans. And, we're talking about material that has been lost, and some of them need that material for the coursework that they're doing. Have you started to think about, I was listening to your Chancellor earlier on, Mamkhethi, talking about this as well. And just, have we started to think about at this time, what would happen at that point? What are the preliminary contingency plans that you're perhaps thinking about at this time?
So we're looking at various scenarios, and it is a little bit difficult, of course, to plan because we're looking at these scenarios in light of the fact that we really do not know when can we reasonably almost look at resumption of activities on campus. And also we are looking at that in consideration of the fact that you would recall that we have already lost quite a lot of teaching time as it was at the beginning of this academic year as a result of the impact of the pandemic. So we are in quite an undesirable position in terms of looking at when do we get back to resuming activities on campus. But at the same time, we also want to prioritize the well-being of students, such that we do not expect teaching and learning to restart when students are not necessarily in a state to continue with such, which is precisely why we took the decision to completely suspend activities for today and tomorrow. We could have, for instance, maybe considered online, continuing with online learning, but we cannot, considering that we are aware this has been no small impact on the students themselves. So as a result, we will look at all the various scenarios. It's going to, yes, indeed be hard to plan considering how fluid the situation is, but we remain hopeful, particularly now speaking to you, being in a situation where we can reasonably say the fire has for now been contained, and we hopefully in the next 24 hours when we do our next update to students and staff, we will be in a better position to almost give a better informed sense of way forward as to what happens, beyond Tuesday going forward.
All right, Elijah, thank you very much for giving us that update, and we'll certainly be talking to you, of course, at some stage with regards to the way forward. Thank you for speaking to us.